Good evening, everyone. First, we would like to thank everyone for taking time out of your schedule and making the decision to be here with us. Um, this, this town hall meeting has been organized by the Voices of Warren County. First of all, we're going to have Ms. Lauren come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please allow me to introduce the members of the Voices of Warren County. Mr. Ronaldo Espinoza, Ms. Barbara Espinoza, and yours truly, Dwayne Hicks. Thank you. We would like to extend a special thanks to Next Door Radio for being here and helping us to get the word out and reach the community outside of here. We set up a Zoom, well, somewhat of a Zoom, giving people an opportunity to log in on a computer like Facebook. We were working on a phone line. I don't know if that actually materialized or not. We were hoping that people would get an opportunity to call in and voice concerns or if they had questions. But any event, we're gonna keep this train rolling. Let's see. Comments. We have Dr. German from the NAACP.
How's everybody doing this evening? Great. I was And so, as we say in church, I'm glad you asked questions. You see, pictures of our founders back in 1909, a group of men and women, both black and white. In our struggle, I point out that has not been a black struggle. It has not been a white struggle. Because without all of us working together, the NAACP would never have been formed, especially when you're talking about more than 100 years ago. And so some of the history I've already talked about. I don't know how much time I have, but based on what I've been told, there are a lot of speakers tonight, so let me just go on and get out of the way. Our leaders, Derek Johnson is our CEO and president of the national body. And Deborah Dix Maxwell is the president of the state conference. So you may still be asking, why do we still need the NAACP? Well, back over 100 years ago, the aim of the NAACP was to work with the constitutional changes of that time, which were amendments 13, 14, and 15. And as you can see, Amendment 13 had to do with the abolition of slavery, 14 with citizenship and equal protection under the law, and 15 with voting rights. And so that was the struggle more than 150 years ago, long before the NAACP was established. Now let's fast forward to 2025, and you can see that we still have that same fight. We have that same fight even today. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
And so just looking at all of the things that are going on around us in our state, even in our nation, you can see the situation with voting has been turned upside down. And so we need to protect the right to vote. We need to save our democracy one vote at a time. And it's going to take all of us working together to make this happen. This is about you, all of you. And just for the record, the NAACP does not endorse any political candidates. So don't say that we on one side or we on the other, because we're not. We're for everybody. We're just straight down the middle. And if you're doing the right thing, then you are our candidate. And so it is important to get voters out to vote. But before
I meant to mention that I overlooked. One of the things is that out here on the table, we've been on a campaign to get district voting implemented in Warren County. Some of you may not know what district voting is. A lot of you do. District voting is when your district that you live in, for example, if you live in District 1 and I'm running for District 1, only District 1 gets to vote for me. District 2, District 3, District 4 does not have any bearing on the representation of District 1. Some people like to declare that if a district chooses their own representation, then that particular commissioner only represents that district. But the fact of the matter is, there is no I in team. And if you are commissioners of Warren County, you are a team member. So it doesn't matter which district you represent. That only means that if the district chose me, then that means that when it comes time, if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, the rest of the county does not decide that I get to stay in that seat because my district said we are tired and you're not doing what you're supposed to do, so we are going to elect somebody else to replace you when my time comes. It's just that simple. We have petitions out on the table. For those of you who support district voting that have not signed up, please do. Okay? And when you do, be reminded you are not alone, because we do have a lot of people in Warren County that does support district voting. Okay, thank you with that one. The other one is, I meant to mention to you all, as a citizen of Warren County and the voices of Warren County also, we always open our doors and make sure that all elected officials get the notice that they are encouraged and invited to show up. Reason being, the citizens are the constituents that put them in office. We have the sheriff here, who is usually, he normally shows up on a regular. I can say, we do have a school board member, Mr. Cooper is here. And who else? County commissioner, I'm sorry. He's a county commissioner. And who else do we have? Oh, Ms. Lehman is a school board member. So we do have someone, at least one person representing those entities. So just remember, when election time comes and the seats are up, because we use this forum as an opportunity to try to build a bridge between the community and elected officials, so that the community can voice their concerns, they can ask questions, and we can get an idea what their goals are. We like to know what it is that they're planning for us as a county in the long term. And I'm gonna close with this. A lot of times, if you see someone throw a stone in a puddle, they generally focus on the big splash. We are here, we're focusing on the ripple effect, because the ripple effect is gonna get you. It always does. It's like a tidal wave. So with that, I'm gonna move on to the next person, Miss Lauren. We have someone from the Boys and Girls Club. We have someone from the Boys and Girls Club. Okay, Miss Lauren with yes.
Thanks. I'm not as tall as all these other folks. I think so. with the health, the public health, safety, and welfare as it pertains to the orderly development of the land and water resources in the county. Well, that means as a practical matter that when there are rezonings, when there are changes to the ordinances that you're required to follow, that goes through the planning board, and then the planning board makes recommendations to the Board of Commissioners on what they think is the right approach. Up until April 16th, at least for a couple of years, we did have a relatively, I would say actually quite a diverse group of people on the board, but at the behest of the Planning and Zoning Director and by the championing of Commissioner Davis, the boards began to revert to the old school way of doing things, which was basically the good old boys network. And when you hearken back to what the NAACP speaker was saying, this is where we're going back to, which is outrageous to me. I can't believe that this is what's going on right here in Warren County. But in any event, what happened is the Planning and Zoning Director recommended to the commissioners, contrary to what the planning board recommended, to have contractors occupy some vacant seats on the board. And they even created a vacancy by removing me as chair and putting me in a second alternate position. There's no apparent reason for that. I am not aware of that reason. I just know that's what they did. And when they did that, I resigned because that was clearly the intended effect. So I want to be here to let you know that your commissioners are reconstituting this board with largely contractors from the lake area, and that means for you that there are people who have conflicts of interest who are going to be making land use decisions for you, or at least recommendations to the commissioners, and based on Commissioner Davis's influence on the board, I would say that once he has his planning board in place, he will then influence the rest of the commissioners to do exactly what they did on April 16th, which was start the dismantling of the board. And fortunately, Commissioner Hunt saw through this, and he even said, it looks like there's a witch hunt here. And that is exactly what it is. They do not want competent, diverse people representing the entire Warren County on that board. And why does it matter to you? It matters because one day you could wake up and find that you have a racetrack at the end of your street that you're going by that you never knew you were going to have, like a lady, Deborah Ferruccio, who comes regularly to complain about. Or you might be surrounded by solar farms, which is being pushed by some of the solar companies who've been coming to this county. And rest assured, they will say that there's going to be a wonderful tax benefit and jobs, etc. Based on the research that I have done and what I have heard from others who have researched it, that is not the best use of the land in Warren County. Not to say that there's not some good that comes of it, but the kind that they are pushing is not going to be the best use of the county's land resources by most accounts. So what is needed? What we need is to have a large group of people, and I hope all of you, if you care about this subject, will come to the July 7th Board of Commissioners meeting and make a physical showing, because until they visually see that the community cares about this, they will ignore you. I mean, I've already tried to make this plea to them, and it has fallen on deaf ears. To the best of my knowledge, there has been nothing done to reverse course. I ask that they reconsider the decisions they made when they brought more, well, they started to bring contractors and other people with conflicts of interest back onto the board. And the next group of people that are going to be recommended to the commissioners are also contractors. You have to ask yourself, why would the Planning and Zoning Director and Commissioner Davis be pushing to fill these positions with people who make their living from land use decisions? That it's going to put them in a position where they will be biased and making decisions that are going to help their pocketbook, and they won't care about what the rest of the county needs are. And so if you go there, and what we would like to see the commission, what I would like to see the commissioners do, and hopefully you would agree, is that they would reconsider those decisions that they've already made, reconsider why the Planning and Zoning Director, or at least look into why is the Planning and Zoning Director pushing to have people who have conflicts to sit on that board and who have a business relationship with the Planning and Zoning Director by virtue of the fact that they do development in this county, and to institute a new policy that says people who are not, people who have conflicts of interest cannot sit on the planning board, even if it's an appearance of a conflict. So for example, you've got developers, builders, contractors, realtors, people who manage property. They're all going to be inclined to push certain kinds of land uses that may or may not be good for the county. And this is why a group of people with diverse perspectives sitting on that board is what's important and necessary. Not one category of people who make their living in Warren County off these land use decisions. So I hope you will be there on July 7th, and I hope you will bring other people, because you really do not want to wake up one day and find out that you are surrounding, all of a sudden, unbeknownst to you, you're going to have data centers surrounding your house, or solar farms, or a racetrack at the end of your street, or the residential parcel next to you is now a light industrial parcel. So that is my hope, and I thank you for your time, and I hope to see all of you there. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm one of the planning board members that is still on board. And even though I probably may not agree with some of the things that they vote on, it won't really matter, because I will be the minority vote, meaning that there's only one of me and there's 4 of them. But I still will make my voice present, and I will make sure that it's duly noted. But the other side of this is what I was concerned about is the interest to serve forms. I've had several people come to me and tell me that they filled out, if you want to serve on any board in this county, you have to go and get an interest to serve form. And you put on there, it gives you 6 choices of boards that you wouldn't mind working on. And that is wonderful. The problem is, a lot of people are telling me that they have put in interest to serve and have, to this day, not yet been called. So I think that the commissioners should look into the process of how those work. First of all, you don't have a date on them. I guess they put a date on them when they received them. But one of the problems, and one of the problems with the planning board, was people had put in their interest to serve in a timely manner. And then all of a sudden we got an onslaught of interest to serve at the last minute. And those were the people that ended up getting put on the board. And so if we as citizens are going to give up our time and energy to fill out these interest to service forms on the committees that we feel that we could be beneficial, then at least they could look at our forms and submit them to the boards in a timely manner. But the other problem too is, if I want my friend on the board and not you, then you have to be careful that there's not a bias to how your form is viewed. And the other problem I had was the way in which the commissioners dismantled the planning board. We, again, are citizens, all right? They're constituents. We put them in their chairs. And if we decide to sit on a board to serve it in our best interest, to hear a commissioner add to an agenda that from now on, the commissioners have the right to remove people from the board or to change a vote or something that was made, then I'm saying to myself, then why am I here? Why am I giving up my time to serve on these boards if at any time they could say, hey, we don't really want to do this? Now I can understand if we made a vote and they checked into it, they investigated it, and they said, well, in the best interest of the community, this isn't a good idea. But if you haven't checked into it, if you haven't looked into it, then, and you're just going to sit up at the desk and go, all those in favor, and they all raise their hand, then I have a problem with that. So my thing is, interest to serve. I would love for everyone to go and see what boards are available. There's a lot of empty ones that they might want to serve on. But this, I hope the commissioners are listening. I see there's one here. I hope they truly understand that we are the members of this community, and we have a right when we sit on a board for our voices to be heard, and not to be nullified because you have the power to strip us from the decisions that we have made, and you haven't even investigated it. So that is my concern. That is what I wanted to bring forth to everybody. There are issues to serve forms, but we as citizens have to hold our commissioners accountable for when we go and sit on these different boards and we know and we're doing the best interest. If you don't like what we have to say on these boards, then come and see why. Come and see what we're doing wrong. Come and help us. Even on the board, our planning board, we asked for input from our commissioners and never got it. We asked for training. We had to ask them and they gave it to us. So it's not like any of us were just there, sitting there, folding our hands. So I'm saying again, this is Voices of Warren County. And why we're Voices is because we want the people that we elected to start paying attention to what we have to say. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. My name is Reynaldo Espinosa. I've been in this county for almost 20-something years. I've been in this county. And this is the first time I ever see on April how the behavior of the persons that want to sit on those boards. If I would have done that, they would have had the sheriff on me. They would have the sheriff on me. Well, no question. And how we're going to put those individuals on those seats. By me sitting on one of those boards, I feel very uncomfortable, especially the way they talk to the ladies and the gentleman that was on that board, and they're still on that board. We got a problem. And I believe the day they was talking about it, I went to the commissioner, and I've seen them, they're talking, okay? A lot of people, I said, when you see, that's what you believe. But I believe they got set up. Because the way T. Davis, I call his name, yes, the way he did it, that's unacceptable as a commissioner to sit on that board. The way he handled everything, come up with a new law, and he was talking. Every time they was voting, then when they went and voted, they had one of the commissioners, she didn't know what you voted for. She did not know what she voted for. It's a problem. Okay. But what I say is they need to have investigation and come to be sure everything they did, it was right by the book. Not that they on something put it up there. They should have investigation. Thank you.
Mr. Ante Johnson, Center Energy Education. Is he here?
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to be here, putting this together. Voices for Warren County, I swear, y'all make like an organizer's life come true because y'all can do a really good job of bringing the community together. For everybody in the community here today, you know, I want to just thank you because it's a heat wave. You could be anywhere in the world right now, but you decided to be here because you wanted to be informed about what's going on in your community. To be honest with you, I'm going to be transparent with you today. I'm not from Warren County. I work in Warren County because I work for the Center for Energy Education. I just came on board May 19th as their community outreach director. Thank you. So, I just want to tell y'all a little bit about what we do at the Center for Energy Education so that y'all can be informed about the work that we do and how we serve you as community members for this county. Miss Laura, I think you had your comment. My spirit is shaking right now because of the comments that was just laid before us. Because it's really sad. I can hear the pain in the community's voices and what's going on, and I really, feel for that. But when I hear you say like, you don't want to wake up in the morning and see a racetrack in your yard or a large-scale solar development in your yard, I don't think the process sort of works like that. Like where you just wake up and you're going to see a development in your yard. There is a process that's put in place where developers, good developers, if they're a good developer, they would have some sort of public information meeting or session to announce their intention to what their plans are and how it would have benefits to the community. Because if you was to wake up and a development happened and you as a community was misinformed, that would be just tragic. I think that the community should be able to get some things out of it in return, and not just taxes, but what could actually benefit the community long term. I mean, I grew up in a place in Bridgeport, Connecticut, where we were deemed, oh, okay, I hear some, hey, okay, from Bridgeport? You know about Bridgeport? Okay, nice. Well, I'm from Bridgeport, Connecticut, and it has been labeled as an EPA showcase community because it's 17 miles long and there was 4 power plants in the community. That was creating so much asthma. The air quality, the water quality was just horrific. And it was really killing the community. I wanted to do something about it because I'm from the community. And so I started getting involved in this Beyond Coal initiative so that we can move away from fossil fuels to a cleaner source of energy. Now, we all need energy, we need to rely on it, but how do we get it? Do we want it to be from fossil fuels? Do we want it to be from renewables? I don't know, but I do know that the alternative is cleaner and is safer than fossil fuels. So what we do at the Center for Energy Education is, make sure that we are educating the community about all different types of energy and what it can do to your health, what kind of impacts it can have on your community. And a lot of solar developers reach out to us because we have relationships with the community, with the school boards, with county commissioners, with some planning and zoning board members, because we provide education. We don't promote any project. We're not going to tell you to vote for a project or you should do this, but we will tell you the benefits of what renewable energy can do for you. We would tell you that if you have certain developments, what it can provide in terms of tax benefits. We would be able to do that. But we're not trying to sway anybody. What we're trying to do is to try to educate what's happening and where the world is going. And so a lot of solar developers will reach out to us because they want us to provide that education to the community. But a lot of solar developers are very savvy. You're going to hear from some tonight. They're very savvy. They have their own way of doing their own community engagement and benefits because some of them really want to be good players and constituents to the communities that they're going to be developing their projects in. But I do understand that in certain places, like utilities, they provide a lot of broken promises. They say they're going to do these things and then they don't do. I teach an environmental justice course at Bennett College right now, currently. So I'm an EJ ambassador. I've worked for the Environmental Justice Network for 3 years. A lot of people know me and throughout the state. I've worked with Secretary Michael Regan to help formulate the environmental justice group that he put together for the state. So I'm here for the community's concerns. I want to let y'all know that I'm here for y'all concerns and I feel y'all concerns, but I also want to let y'all know that we have to be able to be informed about what's happening. And so when a developer comes to the center and they say, hey, we want to work with you guys to provide education about our project, we say, no, we don't do that. What we could do is we could put you on a retainer and we could use some of the benefits to provide back to the community. And so how do we do that? We do things like this that I wanted to promote and to try to let y'all know now. This is a 3-day utility scale solar workshop. Whether you like it or not, if there would be a development that would be coming to your community needs to be at the opportunity so that they can get some jobs, right? This is an opportunity to do that. This is a solar scale workshop, 3 days, where day 1 you will get a solar construction training, and then day 2 and also day 3, at the end of it, you're learning OSHA, and the community can get OSHA training and OSHA certificates for free. Because that's what the developers wanted to do. And so instead of us just taking that money to provide education like we're some consultants, no, we take that and we reinvest it back into the community. So we have a 3-day workshop that's coming up August 23rd to the 26th. It's sponsored by TED Renewables. It's going to be capped at 40 people. Right now we have 5 people. So if you know people that's interested, and not just this, but interested in just getting their OSHA training that can be applied into other careers, this is a good workforce opportunity. So please come see me and I will make sure that we can get you plugged in. We still got 35 slots left and it will go fast. So I'm here now. Another thing we do real quickly, and I'll just wrap this up, of how we reinvest back into the community is we do high school coding camps. We got a high school coding camp for 9th to 12th graders in Halifax County from July 21st to the 24th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Guess what? It's free. It's free because it's for the community. The community benefits from these opportunities. We also have another one coming up, middle school summer camps, July 7th to the 10th, and also July 14th to the 17th, where they will get lessons and enrichment and learn how to do STEM, because STEM careers is actually their future, and they need to be learning about how they can have a role in it, especially people that looks like me, you know? So we do a lot of things. You know, we have a webinar series coming up. This is the last thing here. We have a webinar series coming up. It's free to join online if you have access. It's a Planning and Zoning 101. For the commissioners here, for planning members here, former planning members, join this. Let's work together. Let's not work in division. You know what I'm saying? Let's work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Siobhan Russell.
Peace, peace, and purpose, everyone. Happy Juneteenth every day. Happy Black History Month every day. Happy Kwanzaa every day. For my wonderful ancestors built such a beautiful country. And unfortunately, people that look like me are still diminished in it. So with that being said, I thank you all for coming today to use your voice, to use your presence, so that you can be heard and felt. I am a wonderful partner with the Imani Media School, as well as a member of the Voices of Warren County. They're like, Siobhan, where have you been? And I'm like, I gotta be with the youth. Somebody has to have them when schools are closed. Right, everyone? Right? So the issue that I'm really having is we got over $67 million to the Warren County Public School District. We were supposed to have a school. They consolidated 2 schools. We don't have the programs, and we don't have those buildings. And we also don't have the Board of Education that shows up at meetings for the General Assembly. You know how I know? Because I'm always there. And I'm about to go next week to get the budget before it's given and dispersed on July 2nd. If we were at the meetings, we would know all this information. And if I saw more board members there, they would actually have the general budget before the first meeting. But our board doesn't do that. You know how I know? Because the first year I moved here, I had to pass out copies to the Board of Education. I said, just because you all don't think that we know, you can't fool everybody. Because you're definitely not going to fool me. And I'm highly educated for real. Not just on paper with my degrees, but really as a true advocate that is highly intelligent. And I know how to get wheels turning, which is why they want to silence me in my program. But we have a program that focuses on sustainable energy, vocational trades, fine arts, financial literacy, agriculture, and gardening. All the things that were actually the reasons why we had integration. We were not expected to do well after slavery, but my people are amazing. Aren't we, beautiful people? Don't be afraid. I know we're often scared all the time because we have such a plantation-based county where the old money don't want the new money in. Because then, guess what? The truth is going to be revealed, and I'm here to show it. That's actually my job, to show you all what our ancestors really died for. And they did not die for us to stay the same. They did not die for us to have more resources, but to unite less. They didn't die for us to figure out how to barter when that's all we had when there was no money or federal notes that were reserved. Y'all know about all of that too, at least I hope you do. Because to be twice my age, to be 20 years older than me, to be about to get that good old retirement money at 62, I expect you to have something up here that will assure that my generation can raise their children in legacies. My ancestors that were wonderful school owners. That means Gillis Cheek, that's my great uncle. Matilda Cheek, she was the sister of Ella and Eleanor that actually created and developed the Hex Grove Community School. They also did this for the Wash Training School under my Uncle Gillis's curriculum. I am here as the generation that is skipped. It skipped 2 generations where there were no school owners, but some good old educated people with some good degrees. And they just stayed teachers. And they retired as teachers. And all they know is government money. And I showed my family, we are so much better than just a check. So I had to let them know our county deserves a real teacher. Not just one shucking and jiving until that day of 62 comes. That's the reason why our children are the way they are in our county. We focus more on getting screens, having a good old iPhone, making sure they got a good old top-notch iPad, but they don't have summer programs. But as y'all see out there, my students are candle making right now. I have students that are in summer camp, and I have some students until 8 p.m. tonight to help their parents. I'm doing what a school system could never do. I'm doing what teachers that get money for a check could never be. I'm doing what the Board of Education could never become after retirement. They don't have it in them, but my ancestors do. And for that reason, I want you all to truly understand, if we're here and we're not speaking up, and we know that our youth are in these systems, we know that our daughters and our sons are working for systems in Warren County, we know that they are forced to be silent as if they don't know Amendment number 1, freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and the right to petition the government. My students know Amendment number 1. I hope every adult present knows their rights, because the children do. I'm teaching them what teachers with degrees don't know. And I have a problem with it because my county of teachers that can barely teach, my county of parents that put their kids on phones as soon as they get home because they're too tired from slaving. I understand the truth. And I want you all to understand that some of us, we ain't gonna go along with to get along. We're gonna end slavery here. Even for some people that are in those seats for 25 years plus, shucking and jiving for a check. And now their children learned how to do the same. Now their wife are following those leaders, those men, that were not revolutionary without those government checks, without making sure that the children were somewhere else while they were out fighting. My students and my daughter is here. And I'm a revolutionary that doesn't need a system for a 9 to 5. And I definitely don't need a system of oppressive people to teach my children and to teach students that look like me. Because guess what happens? My friend Tyrone Milton is a teacher from Durham that lives in Warren County, that drove from Warren County every day to Durham. I'm a teacher that lived in Durham, that drove from Durham every day to Warren County. And I didn't know that the McKissicks were right 7 minutes away from me. If I would have known that, I would have made sure both of us were in the same building, speaking on the same stuff that mattered most, which is what we're doing together in Soul City now. I'm here as a connector. I bring outsiders here that are gonna do well, for the insiders that are too silent to speak up for what we already have always had. So I hope you all understand the significance of actually having schools outside of the system. I hope you all understand the significance of self-sustained energy, because when we don't have gas in our cars to get groceries, what we gonna do, panic? We gonna call the cops? They don't got it, y'all. They don't have it. We gonna call the teachers? They're gonna be in panic mode too. So that means we should be what our ancestors that built this country were. Once they got free, they were a village. They did not carry on the energy of the plantation. Only the people that enslaved us want to continue that. Get real with yourselves. Use your voices. Open up. Speak up for you so that your children and your grandchildren learn how to speak up for them. And so that we are not the young ones with the legacy when the people with retirement checks could have had 10 by now. Please do your parts, elders. We love you. Please, teachers and government workers that are retiring with that check soon, do your part, because I'm watching you. And I'm saying, how do I have it and y'all don't? Please get it with no fear. Thank you so much for your time, and please be propelled and compelled to speak up and advocate for your rights, elders, because they're taking yours too. For your rights, parents, because they're taking yours too. And for your rights for your children, because they're going to take them first. Thank you.
Presentation for the Soul Farm Diet. Good evening.
My name is Dylan Stickney. This is my colleague Ben Metcalf. Really grateful to be here tonight. Really appreciate all of you coming out tonight. What a wonderful forum, what a wonderful organization. Yeah, very, very grateful to be here. I'll be very honest right up front. I'm not a Warren County resident. I've had the opportunity to spend a lot of time here over the last couple of years, meet a lot of wonderful people in hopes to do business. I'd like to outline exactly what it is that we're trying to do, what we're proposing to do. I've met a lot of you folks in this room here tonight. You may have heard a few bits and pieces from me over the last several months. But yeah, I'd love to share as much as I can, and certainly encourage you to come find me, reach out, ask questions if you have them. I work for a company called TED Renewables. You heard that name earlier, just a few minutes ago. We're here in Warren County proposing a solar project. It's called the Horizon Solar Project. We put this together a number of years ago. We just introduced it publicly about 18 months ago from today. Really excited to be sharing this information with y'all. But I'd like to talk about first Warren County's experience with solar and what it has been up until now. It's been some good, there's been some bad. I very much acknowledge that. We've heard a lot of stories, a lot of different experiences from different people. There's about 10 different solar projects built and operating in Warren County today, generating clean, emission-free electricity, putting it onto the system for you to use in your homes, for utilities to distribute to customers in this area. Those 10 projects in the last 10 years have created over $100,000 a year in new tax revenue. Those are tax dollars that Warren County would not have seen without these solar projects getting built. A few quick stats, right? Now, like I said, every community that I've been a part of, every community that I've had the opportunity to work in, has seen the other side of this experience as well, right? It's certainly, no surprise to any of you, and certainly not to me, that Warren County has seen that same experience. That some of these projects, yeah, you can see them from the road. Maybe you can see them from your house, on your way to work, or on your way to drop your kids off at school. You may not like how they look, right? Compared to a cornfield or a cow pasture, I probably couldn't debate that. In 2022, a very small group of Warren County residents and some non-residents proposed an amendment to how solar farms are permitted to be constructed through the process in Warren County. Proposed an amendment that addressed the visibility of solar farms, of solar facilities. We don't like how they look, they should be screened. There should be buffering, there should be landscaping. We do not want to look at these. We recognize that they generate electricity, they pay tax dollars, but we'd rather not see them. The 2022 amendment addressed that. Installed a robust landscape vegetation screening requirement for any projects since 2022 to go forward. Fully support that. Every community I go into, whether there's a requirement for it or not, any project that Ted Renewables works on, there is landscaping proposed. There is buffering, visual buffering proposed. This amendment also addressed accountability of the developers, to address those empty promises that folks often hear about, to address who's going to be there when this thing stops working, or when it's done operating, when it's done generating. This amendment installed a removal bond requirement, a financial bond, physical bond requirement, so that these projects can be removed. Fully support that. That's a standard provision in all of our lease agreements for any project that Ted Renewables works on. Again, whether there's a requirement or not. In fact, just about 18 months ago from today, the state of North Carolina passed legislation that requires financial security, a removal bond for any solar facility in the state of North Carolina. Fully support that legislation. What this amendment also did in 2022 is restricted any new solar project to no more than 150 acres, and above that, restricted any new solar facility from being built within 5 miles of another. Now, if you had a map of every solar facility built in Warren County today and drew a 5-mile circle around it, that's all of Warren County. The 2022 amendment, again, a small group of planning board members and some non-residents, not even of North Carolina, pushed through in your community, prohibits any new solar facility from getting built in Warren County. Prohibits any new investment from a company like ours, like Ted Renewables. Some even right here in North Carolina, folks that want to be investing in Warren County but simply cannot because of that amendment to your zoning ordinance that got pushed through in 2022. It prevents the solar opportunity. It prohibits the solar opportunity for any Warren County landowner that's seeking an alternative to how they can generate income for their families. Simply put, you will not see another solar farm built in Warren County if that ordinance does not change today, or at some point in the near future, and I hope it does. Now, we've heard a couple comments tonight that if you don't see the right people making these decisions on your planning board, on your board of commissioners, you'll be surrounded by solar. Today, those 10 projects, that 500 acres of solar facility in Warren County, makes up 0.2% of the total land area in Warren County. I would hardly consider that surrounded by solar. If the project, our Horizon Solar project, yes, it comprises a total of 900 acres, would increase that number to 0.3% of land area in Warren County. Again, hardly consider that surrounded by solar. We heard the term, is that the best use of our land? Is that the best use of the land in Warren County? I personally think that's a decision for landowners to make. Within reason, of course, but you as landowners, you as taxpayers, you as community members, the land that your father, your grandfather's father worked so hard to acquire and keep in your family so that you now have an opportunity to utilize that land in a way that does not impact your neighbors, that does not put off emissions, and is safe and stable for your family and the legacy that you leave behind. I've learned a lot about Warren County from being here, from meeting people, from working with landowners. One of the first things I learned is Warren County is a Tier 1 community. Warren County is looking for economic opportunity, is looking for job creation, is looking for ways to protect the resources in our county, the land resources in our county in particular. And seeking that economic revitalization that I've heard a lot about and heard a lot about here tonight, right? I got into this business to hopefully leave that legacy to my two little kids, and hopefully their kids too, right? That you can work in a community to help folks understand that projects like this afford folks the opportunity to utilize that land that they've worked so hard to acquire, keep in their family, keep together, and prevent themselves from having to sell it off for permanent industrial or residential development or otherwise, right? So our Horizon Solar project, that's what we're proposing. We're here, we've already invested a significant amount here in Warren County. We'd like to continue to do that. I know other developers as well would love to be here in Warren County. We're ready to create that opportunity, right? We're ready to be here and be a community partner. Mr. Johnson said, the Center for Energy Education, I applaud their organization. They do fantastic work as a nonprofit organization to spread that education that community members are often lacking, right? We try to do our best to do it. Having an organization like C4E over in Roanoke Rapids does a fantastic job doing just that. We're hopeful to contribute. We're hopeful to bring this opportunity to Warren County, contribute to county financial resources. Like you said, we can certainly quantify those tax dollar numbers. That's not the end of the picture, right? That's not all it is that these solar facilities can afford. I'd love to, yeah. So, love to answer questions, please.
Good afternoon. We appreciate you doing great jobs to us. Why do we have to use farmland for your solar farms? There's plenty of rooftops. The county has plenty of buildings with lots of flat roofs. And I know there is one solar farm because it's cylindrical panels that are on it, I believe. Is that the high school? Cylindra? No, it's a Cylindra program? Cylindra did well, didn't they? So, other question. Use the solar, use the rooftops. Next thing, if you could give us all an education on how a solar panel is actually manufactured. The silicon wafer to the arsenic and iodine used to allow the cell to one side to pick up positive electricity, split into photons, we'd be very interested in that.
Very much appreciate the question. Number one, frankly, we need it all. We need power generation resources, not just in North Carolina. We need it all. We need it on roof. As many rooftops as are willing, as many utility scale projects on private land with landowners that are seeking that opportunity. We need it all. North Carolina imported electricity last year. Could not generate enough electricity to support the demand for all of the citizens in North Carolina. Had to buy it from out of state. What do you do with the panels when they're done? So a panel itself, I'm going to answer both of these questions. A panel itself, solar panel today, photovoltaic, polysilicon solar panel is made up of aluminum, glass, silicon wafers, and a laminate back sheet that holds it all together. There is no arsenic.
Ionized silicon wafers, sir. Ionized silicon wafers.
I'd love to exchange contact information with you. Point you to some good information if you'd like.
It's ionized silicon wafers. You have to do something to a silicon wafer once it is processed, heated, processed, and sliced thinly to allow that wafer to take photons and split it to the elements we need for making direct electricity. It then goes to your inverters that change it to the proper frequency. It then goes to gates that allow it to go onto our grid as long as the frequency is correct. Now, the process of making those wafers uses poisons. once the wafers or once the solar panels have reached their life or profitability life, they'll constantly work. You can clean the glass, you can polish them up, you can make them work forever. Trust me.
I agree.
Okay?
Fully.
But they lose profit after between 25 and 30 years. Then they must be traded out. Those wafers, what's the use for them? The glass we can reuse. The aluminum we can smelt down and we can make new things out of it. I suggest beer cans. Okay? The other stuff we can't. Because once a solar farm has been decommissioned, the panels moved, it's actually designated by the state of North Carolina as a brown site. You're familiar with that?
I disagree.
Okay.
I'd love to see.
We're allowed to disagree.
Absolutely. And I'd love to see your sources.
Please don't. Okay. So, respectfully agree. Sorry, I apologize.
To answer your question, sir, a solar panel is recyclable, 100%. Either it's sold for reuse, if there is an appropriate place for that to happen, right? Maybe not in the field that it was originally installed. If that could be reused here or somewhere else, absolutely there's opportunity for that. Or there are recycling facilities, recycling companies. There's an entire industry built around solar panel recycling that is growing every day. There's a facility in Salisbury, North Carolina, singly focused on recycling solar panels themselves.
I was of the understanding that they could not be recycled.
They absolutely can be. In fact, the North Carolina Clean Energy Technology Center at NC State has led research on the components of solar panels, recyclability of the components of solar panels. Again, more than 85% of the makeup of a solar panel is glass and aluminum. Very, very recyclable materials. Yes, ma'am?
Has your company furnished the money, agreed to furnish the money ahead of time to get solar panels out of Warren County after their useful period, 25 years or whatever it is, to remove them?
Yes, ma'am. 100% yes, ma'am. When we signed our first lease agreement in 2022, it was in that lease agreement we are contractually obligated to that landowner to remove every single piece of equipment, not just the panels, the posts, the fences, the inverters, every single piece of equipment off of that property when that lease term has ended. Number two, Warren County. Today, as the ordinance reads, I hope that this stands and continues to read this way, which I would expect it certainly would, requires a performance bond, a physical fund to supply the cost of removing that facility 30 years from now, right? Number three, the state of North Carolina and the Department of Environmental Quality, by state legislation, requires the same. So there are 3 layers of protection to ensure that solar panels and any solar farm in North Carolina will not be left out in a field and abandoned.
I understand that the electricity that you get from these solar panels can't even be used in the state of North Carolina. It has to be sold, or it can't be used in Warren County. It has to be sold somewhere else.
So I would challenge that fully, absolutely fully. So the gentleman behind you is using the term frequency. It's actually voltage, right? So a solar panel generates electricity in a direct current. An inverter within the fence line of that facility turns that direct current into alternating current, just like feeds your house, just like the lines running down your street, over your driveway. That alternating current is put onto the system where the solar facility is located. It's then distributed to the nearest point of demand, right? The nearest point of demand on that system. Now there's a lot of different utilities in North Carolina, right? They all interact with each other. That power flows between different utility infrastructure between different ownership facilities. Absolutely, and yes, those big transformers you see at the substations, that's what takes it from transmission voltage to distribution voltage that feeds right into your house. Absolutely, the power that is generated here in North Carolina can and will be used here in North Carolina as well. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. X, thank you very much.
Check. For everybody that had a comment tonight, I'm quite sure there's more comments. We provide an actual Solar 101 workshop that's not with the developers, but that's actually constructed by a Halifax Community College professor at the Center for Energy Education, also free. You could come, you could have some food, we could do a lunch, we could do dinner. But for all of the questions that's been raised in terms of the harmful impacts of solar, come learn at the Center for Energy Education, and we can all figure out how we can go about this in a conscientious way. Because obviously there must be some misinformed information about the toxins, about the materials that goes in the panels, about how it impacts the soil. All of those things, we can figure all of this out, but let's create an opportunity in a forum where we can all come together, ask these questions. Like, you see what these guys is doing right there? That right there is called diplomacy. That right there is united. Like, we need more of that, and we can invite you to do that at the Center for Energy Education.
And that right there is an example of the goals and the plans for the Voices of Warren County. This is what our goal is to build a bridge, get some concrete and some real answers and some real responsibility in the county of Warren. Mr. Milton from Soul City.
Good evening. I am Dr. Charmaine McKissick Melton. This is my husband, Tyrone Melton. We have lived in Warren County for over 20 years, but I graduated from John Graham High School, 1973. So I ain't new to Warren County. I thought I would basically inform you a little bit about Soul City in terms of history. And Floyd McKissick. Because I think some people only know Floyd McKissick is the guy that did something with Soul City. He existed before that. I am his youngest daughter. I am a recent retiree as a professor and chair of the Department of Mass Communication from North Carolina Central University. I used to teach at Bennett College and created their Department of Mass Communication. Okay. Inform and educate. Floyd McKissick was born in Asheville, North Carolina, as was my mother, 1922. He is a WW2, World War II veteran. And in 1951, after serving our country, he became the first African American to sue and go to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Happened to be law school. That was 1951. I too am a graduate of Carolina. But he was the first. His three friends, he and his three friends were in law school at North Carolina Central University and decided to test the law. And with the help of Thurgood Marshall, they won that lawsuit and became the first black vote to go to Carolina, like I said, 1951. He's done a number of things, including having all his children be guinea pigs of desegregation. My oldest sister, Joycelyn, desegregated Durham Public Schools by graduating from Durham High in 1959, 1960. My other sister also, and my brother and I, you might know Floyd McKissick Jr., formerly state senator and the only person of color currently on our State Utilities Commission, my older brother. We desegregated Durham elementary schools. He was in the 6th grade and I was the youngest among those in the 3rd. My father was also a speaker at the March on Washington in 1963, where we all know Dr. King had the I Have Dreams speech. And he eventually became head of CORE, C-O-R-E, Congress of Racial Equality, where he moved to New York City, and he became a proponent of also something called Black Power in 1966 at the Meredith March in Mississippi. And moving to New York, and ended up moving away from civil rights in a different direction towards Black economic development. That's where Soul City comes in. They were creating something called McKissick Enterprises on 125th Street across from the Apollo, places where Black folks could make money. One of these ideas that came up was this new concept that the Nixon administration had money for new towns. And that was the beginning of Soul City, where our former Congresswoman Eva Clayton's husband, attorney T.T. Clayton, helped to buy the land for Soul City in December of '69. We accumulated over 5,000 acres. It was proposed to be a planned development over a period of 20 to 30 years. And one of its major accomplishments was the Carr Lake Regional Water System, of which we all benefit today. It was Vance County, Warren County, and Granville County. And now, we sell that same water to Franklin County. But I want you to remember, Soul City is more than just something for Warren County. It is a regional development in its regard. When you leave Durham and you cross over that border, straight to the Virginia line, there would be nothing at any of those exits on Interstate 85 if it were not for the Carr Lake Regional Water System, because you can't do nothing without water. We wouldn't even have Butler Prison, where we got a lot of jobs. We wouldn't have the Revlon plant in Oxford. We wouldn't have any of those things. I, of course, personally believe that we in Warren County have not developed as much as we should have on those interstate exits, but there are reasons for that too, okay? So what I want to say is this. Soul City started with a grain of salt and a concept and a vision for all people. Was never planned to be an all-Black community, but it was planned to be a special place for people of color. So, quickly, usually people ask me, why did it not become what it was supposed to be? And I could give you an hour conversation, but the quick answer is former Senator Jesse Helms. He buried something in the bottom of a bill on a Friday afternoon, and many people even voted for the demise of Soul City were unaware. So, my husband and I, like I said, we've been here 20 years, so we work on a lot of things together.
And here we are.
And we are developing the Soul City Parks and Recreation Association, which are the first homeowners association of Soul City, and we gave to Warren County a few years back what you now know as the MRC, the Magnolia Ernest Recreational Complex, named for Floyd McKissick's parents, my grandparents, Magnolia and Ernest McKissick. So I'm going to turn it over now to my husband, Tyrone Melton, to pick up a little bit on where we are now, where we're trying to go.
It's all about energy, number one. So we're going to get some energy going in this room because it's been down for too long. I've seen people walk out, and I know why they walked out. Because we're not fellowshipping with each other. We're not having those conversations that we should be having. A lot of folks are talking about the downside of what's happening in Soul City, but it is the opening of coming into Warren County. It is the only place in Warren County that already has an infrastructure.
Amen.
that came in the 60s. Now what we have is several developments that are arising in the community. Take a ride, come over by the Merc, that public pool that's the only one within miles. Matter of fact, ask Henderson about the Merc, the swimming pool that stays closed most of the time, but we're just happy to still have it. We're glad this year that it opened up one time.
Yes.
Well,
the only public pool in Warren County since
I won't say on time.
1977.
I'll say it opened up a lot earlier than it normally does. I will also say that communication is where we are failing in the county totally. I want to give a shout out. She's not here today, but Lucy Weldon is always on point.
Amen.
She's always on point. Especially for our senior citizens who have to read a lot, that are not into the communication world like some of us. So if you get the local Warren County paper, you'll find out what's happening around the county. Young people, what I would like to see in this room today is not here.
Yeah.
We talk about them, but we also had a generation where we were maybe not alike, just like them, but it was a different generation and we made it through. And every generation has a movement. I'm asking this body today for a movement towards Soul City. We just hired in this county a tourism person. Right now, we have the oldest house almost in this state that is in Soul City community, 1790. If there's another one I've not heard about. Matter of fact, we even tried to research another
1790, it's standing.
Right, with good, and it's good. But my plea to you today, and I know that you've been sitting for a while, is that let's have more communication. We were just a part of the People's Academy, that I learned a lot about this county. I learned a lot that most of us don't even know. I've been over there in Soul City for 28 years, but until I got involved was when I started to see what needs to be done. We talk a lot. Let's see some movement. Nothing changes unless something moves. So if we were to start moving towards talking to neighbors, making sure who's moving into our neighborhoods, having those conversations, going to that door, knocking on that door, maybe not with cookies or a piece of cake, but at least with a conversation, to say, hi, hello, here I am. This is who I am. Our kids are asking for our help. We need to share what we know with them. We're not doing that. We're continuing to talk about things that make a difference for them. Look at us in this room. We are the old guard. We are not the new guard. What we need is speak outs for young people, not just town hall meetings. Our kids need to hear conversations that we need to hear conversations that they want us to hear. We're not listening to them, but we're still bashing each other. We're pushing each other against the wall, and nothing's moving. Let's make some change. Let's have these conversations. Let's put politics in its place and not in our communities as we talk to our neighbors. Let's talk about what changes need to be made, such as speed bumps, lights in the community, neighborhood watches. Those are the things that we're working on in Soul City. We invite you to come over as I close, to come and look at the mural that just started. It is not where we initially wanted, but at least we got a mural. We'll be working around because we want the kids to be able to look at the progression that is happening in this county. Will you help? Will you stand with each other in your own communities? Move one community to another community. Have the street dances with the sheriff department and all the other people that are part of this community with a smile and not with a negative attitude. I implore you to invest in Soul City.
I did bring some show and tell, so I'll just point out that my dad wrote this book back in 1969 and made it ring true to 2025. If you read a little history, you know what 3/5 of a man is about. When the Constitution came about, and they wanted to figure out how they count all them slaves down the South, they said that we were 3/5 of a man. Soul written by a guy, a white guy who's a law professor at Seton Hall. That's not my, no, that's a
Gotta add money in.
I did help him with some of the research. It is relatively an accurate story. There's some pages I'm not thrilled with, like he calls Eva Clayton. Whoever spelled EVA, whatever word, how you pronounce that, other than Eva. He saw it, yeah, whatever. Liberation Road, it was called Librarian Road. So, there are a few minor modifications, but it's a really decent book if you want to read about the history of Soul City. Last but not least, like my husband said, we are working on a whole bunch of stuff in Soul City and hope that the community will begin to favor us, not dwell on the past and any of the stuff we're dealing with, because we're all in the same boat. There's a poem my father used to have in front of this book. Just one line. It's from a blues song, Ledbetter. And he says, in a boat. Trying to find the page. We're in the same boat, brother. We're in the same boat, brother. We're in the same boat, brother. If you shake one end, you're gonna rock the other. Because we're in the same boat, brother.
The question was, how do others get involved? We have a volunteer fire department. At one time was a state-of-the-art in this county. The building is still there. We still have volunteers. We're employing your children, your young children, to come out and join the department. We're also connecting with with the CDC, the Community Development, which I believe was spoken of earlier, that we'd like for you all to come out. We give food away. We will feed you. We will feed you. So if in fact that you see something that says Soul City or CDC, know that you will be fed. And if you're too hot, we got plenty of water in the pool.
And my phone number is in the phone book, under McKisson, Melton.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I really want you guys to give all of the speakers, I want all of you to give the speakers that preceded me a round of applause because they actually gave my speech. Right? Not only that, but I heard passionate people who had differences in some of their views, but were respectful and that shared those views so all of us could hear where they're coming from. We need more of that. My message, or at least the message I want to leave with everyone tonight. There are significant things happening that require us to come together. And that's now. Again, everybody who spoke, focus on being heard, but people getting involved and being informed. Again, first I want to thank the organizers of Voice of Warren County for inviting me to speak to you tonight. I appear before you tonight not representing any one group, but as a member of the Warren County community or family. Whereas I may not agree with every position taken by the Voices leadership, I am committed to their interest in ensuring that we build a strong community, a community that is informed and engaged, and I'm proud to call the members my friends as well. The sharing of ideas should not be considered a threat to one's belief. We used to think of that as simply, I disagree with your position, or I agree. Not allowing it to become toxic or building a wedge between us or divide us further. Throughout history, we've seen this play out over and over again. We know the end results. Those controlling the narrative win. We must come together and focus on our common goals and issues. We need to find ways to communicate our common concern. Only then can we find and implement a real solution. This includes all members of our community in the conversation, whether Republicans, Independents, Democrats, Black, whites, Native, or Indigenous people. We need everybody pulling in the same direction. We can continue to be a divided community, or we can choose to come together for the good of us all. As America deals with the shaping of a new world order that shows China competing for dominance as the leader of the world, both economically and militarily. It's changing how our nation leaders react, causing many of us to question their intent, me included. So what does that mean for us? What are we seeing? And how are we to react? I see attempts to eliminate part of our federal government. Some may refer to it as simply eliminating the government. Others will call it restructuring or downsizing it, reshaping it. I see transfer more power into the hands of one person, our president. A weakening of the balance of power between our three branches of government. New global alliances being formed while threatening our long-term friends. A major shift in wealth distribution with the rich getting richer and the poor becoming poor. Disregards for elements of our Constitution, including things like due process. Excessive spending on things that are at odds with who we are as Americans. Multi-million-dollar military parades, birthday parades while cutting thousands of jobs. Using of National Guard's troops when they're not being asked for by the governor, when we're saying we favor states' rights. Use of the presidency for personal enrichment. I could have made a lot of money on meme coins. I like crypto, but I chose not to. Use of tariffs that add an unfair tax burden onto those least able to pay for them. A tax on programs, companies, educational institutions, and other organizations that believe America still have work to do to become a more perfect union. Reduction of Medicaid, Medicare and health programs, threat to Social Security, elimination of key departments ensuring fairness in federal and state government and local contracting. I know I'm not the smartest guy on the planet and I don't see everything, but this is what I see. Again, the voices in the community gives us a platform to say, what do you see? What do you believe? And what do we believe we working as a community can do? It takes people being involved to create community. Warren County is growing. We must lend our voices and energy to those things that matter most to us so we grow to serve our people and our community. The young lady spoke earlier about our educational systems and job preparation, new schools, teacher salaries, etc. We've got a lot of international teachers that come here that don't have a place to stay. They don't live in the county, but yet we don't focus on solving the problem. Development of our youth and young community. I heard that loud and clear. We don't have a focus on creating new leaders. Who will replace those of us who dare say we are leaders today if we don't spend the time showing them and giving them the space and the opportunity to speak and to develop? We know that housing is a real problem. We see significant increases in housing permits being built in our county. Again, supporting the idea of growth. Well, that has an impact on infrastructure. has an impact on your taxes. When we look at the budget and see where we generate revenue from, I would question whether or not we've got programs or vision that says we are focused on growing fast enough to outpace the needs or expenses of supporting a growing county. We see a focus on, a cost rather, on replacing aging infrastructure. We know we've got to improve our water facilities. We see economic development, farmers market, full grocery store downtown Warrenton, agriculture-related projects that focus on manufacturing, senior citizen center, a rail hub, broadband, and focus on clean energy. We may not have clear plans or strategies on how to develop those things. I question if we're interested in clean energy, why and what are we doing not only to produce clean energy, but then to create manufacturing capabilities around the use of clean energy. We've got neighboring counties that have secured manufacturing facilities using solar. I don't think there's a discussion in Warren County that supports that at this point. I am a former planning board member. I support the positions taken earlier. The question that I have is our county needs to see land usage development across the county. So no one single strip of our county is becoming more enriched in terms of its property value than other portions of the county. Therefore, having a balanced board makes sense to me. I supported that position. I still support that position. There are neighboring counties that do not allow land developers, real estate personnel to be part of their advisory boards. During the discussion with the board members, which I don't think is privileged information, we discussed that, and we would like to think that all of us are fair people and that having the power of being recused from voting on an issue would eliminate that factor. I personally think that if I wanted something done, I would try to work with those who had the authority to make it happen. I would want to work on that before I got into a voting situation. So I do think that we, the community, need to weigh in on that. If you agree with that position, then great. But I think my message to everybody here and those that are listening to us on Facebook and across Warren County is you've got to get involved. The days of us sitting back because we said we're retired or we're too old or we don't have children in the system, we don't. Keep in mind that those children will grow up to take care of us. We need to be focused on that. We must lend our joint forces and energy to create that community we all need and want to be a part of. It is super important for us as a community to put our differences aside and work together towards common goals. We have challenges that affect us all. And by collaborating and supporting each other, we can make a real difference and create a better way for everyone. Let's do this, Warren County. We are stronger together. Thank you.
Now we will have Representative Sanders.
Good evening. I don't know if it's better to be first or last. I really don't. I'll just get closer to this one. How's that? No, it's okay. Okay, my wife and I apologize for being late. We went into session at 1 o'clock today, and at 5 o'clock we were still not through. And so we spent the first 2 hours on one piece of legislation. And I'm not sure that we ever agreed on what we were supposed to do with it. But that's the way it works sometime in the Senate. I've been a senator now for 14 years, working on my 15th year in the Senate. And in 2 years, I started off in the House of Representatives. And just for your information, my across the hall roommate for several years was Floyd McKissick and his son, and I'm trying to think of his son's name. The third, he's Floyd the third. Well, he was a delightful young man, and so was, and he was your brother? One's the youngest one, but I think it was the youngest one that worked with him in his office. But got to know him very well, and he was a super young man and had a lot of potential, and I'm sure, I don't know where he is now, but I'm sure he's doing great. And Floyd was a happy man when he got an appointment to the Utilities Commission and finally got the salary that all of us think that we deserve. But, because you don't want to know what my yearly salary is, I wouldn't suggest, unless you're retired, I wouldn't suggest it. It's about $12,000 a year. So it costs me a whole lot more to be in Raleigh than I ever take home. My joy is that my wife is able to work with me in my office, and she is, so I don't have to go home on Thursday night and tell her what I've been doing all week, because she's been there with me. So anyway, I know that you've heard some presentations on the solar energy and some other things this evening. The young man that was up here, and I don't, maybe that was him down there, that talked about the program at the community college. Was that you? That's the greatest advice that you'll ever have, because all of us have different views and we have different thoughts about different kinds of energy. You know, I've learned after 15 years in the General Assembly in public service, and that's the first public service that I ever did, is that everybody usually wants the same thing, but there are different ways for us to get there. And some go this way, they go this way to get over here. Some people go this way to get over there. Some people just go straight ahead. And so it just depends on how you feel like is the best way to go. And so I could tell you a lot about what I feel about solar, but I did not have the benefit of hearing what the gentleman before me, and so I'm not going to try to overdo them. All forms of energy that we know right now has pros and cons. There's no perfect form of energy that we have. Some are better than others, some are more reliable than others, some are cheaper than others, but the thing is that there are many ways to get to where it is that we want to be. And where we want to be in North Carolina is affordable, dependable electricity that we can have when the demand is high and not be so reliant on it when the demand is not so high. And so you can figure out what that might look like. I know that we have passed some major energy bills over the last couple of years, and it's all been focused at getting those things that we want, affordable energy, because if you don't have affordable energy, you're not going to attract businesses. They're not going somewhere where energy costs them more. If they can go one county over and get energy that's more dependable and for a cheaper price, that's where they're going to go. Sometimes it's the workforce that draws them, but a lot of times it's energy, it's property, and it's the ability to have people that can be trained to do the work that they want to do. And so, and there are many different avenues to get where it is we want to get to be. So, but I want to talk about a little bit about where the General Assembly is right now, because this is your General Assembly and you need to know where we are. Right now we've been in a battle for the last several weeks over the budget. One thing that we have to do this year is write a new budget. And so the Senate started out writing a budget, and then they sent it to the House, and they did some changes to it, and then sent it back to us. And so right now we're in a battle as to how's the best way to spend the revenue in North Carolina. Our budget this year is about $36 billion is what we spend. That's on paper that you can see. There's a lot more that we spend that you don't see, but it's about a $36 billion budget this year. And so right now, the Senate and the House are at odds with each other on how we want to move forward with tax decreases, not increase, because the Senate has a plan in place that we put in place about 6 years ago to lower your personal income taxes so that you can spend more of your own money. And we do that by expanding some other things, but we do that by controlling our spending. And we've been able to drop or decrease the tax rate in North Carolina. When I first went into the General Assembly, it was 7.6%. The next year it's supposed to go to 2.99%. So that's almost a little over a 50% reduction in your personal income tax. Now, if you're like most people, you don't realize that that's there because for many years I did the same thing. You live from paycheck to paycheck, and you may see a little bump in your paycheck this year, but $5 or $6 is not going to make that much difference. But over the long term, it will make a difference. And so North Carolina has been blessed over the last 8 to 10 years because every year we have taken in more money than what we predicted that we would take in. We call it revenue surpluses. And so the state of North Carolina, unlike some governments, like especially the one in Washington, D.C., we are hemmed in. We're not hemmed in, but we are controlled. Our spending is controlled because we cannot spend one single dime more than we take in. We cannot borrow money to increase spending. We cannot print money. So all we have is what we bring in through personal income tax, mostly for the state. And so the other thing that we've done over the last few years is, and also lowering the tax rate. I don't know if you know it, but 90% of the people in North Carolina, when they file their taxes, they use the standard deduction. We have increased the standard deduction amount for a married couple from $11,000 a year to $25,000 a year. So the first $25,000, you don't pay any tax on it. And yet North Carolina has had revenue surpluses every year for the last 6 or 8 years. And it's because of our growth. We are the 5th or 6th fastest growing state in the country. And it's growing because businesses like the environment that we have here in North Carolina. They like our corporate tax rates. They like all of the things that we provide for businesses. Our community college system is one of the best in the country. And it has the ability that within just a few weeks, if you tell them what you want, they'll have a class for you to go in and train people to do it. There's no other community college system in the country that can do what our community college system does. And yours is a good community college system also here because you're part of the 57-member community college system in this state. Some community colleges serve multiple states. I know the College of the Albemarle has about 6 counties that they serve. But they do a great job in doing it. And so that's one of the many advantages that we have here in this state is the ability to train people very quickly to do specific jobs. And so they work with industry, they know how to do that. And so that's what we're trying to do, is to increase the availability in North Carolina and how good North Carolina looks to others. Again, I said that we're one of the fastest growing states in the country. That's because people like our tax rates, they like our weather, they like our 4 seasons, they like the beach, they like the mountains, and they like to come here and retire. And so we're growing a whole lot. And the good thing about retirement is they come and bring their money, but they don't have children that we have to educate or look after or something. So, they don't cost the state of North Carolina a whole lot of money. But anyway, so to get back, I know that on the invitation that you received, we were talking about districts for voting. Okay, now what that means is that it's taken us a little bit longer than I thought it would because the school districts that you have now, where you elect your Board of Education members, they're not in the ballpark that we have to have them to elect anybody else. They're not all the same size as much as they need to be. And so in order to make new districts, we're going to have to redraw them. And that's what we're working on right now because we're very restricted when it comes to drawing districts. We can't separate towns. We don't even like to separate communities, and we have to have within a plus or minus 5% the same amount of people in each district. And so I've got some preliminary drawings that I'm going to be looking at and talking with some of the leaders here. I want to tell you, you guys have something here that's pretty unique. You come into here and you come in here in unity, and that's where God commands the blessing. That's what the Bible tells us. It's in unity is where God commands the blessing. And so I just want you to know that what you have here is very special. There's a lot of communities in the state of North Carolina that don't have anything like this. And so you're to be commended for being here tonight. You're to be commended for supporting this group because they're trying to make positive changes in your county. And you've heard from other people who have some different alternatives. And if you're interested in those, get in touch with them. Go join up with them. Do what you can to help them. Every hand is a wonderful set of hands, and every idea is a fresh idea. And so that's what makes you so unique, and that's what is going to bring a great deal of success to you, is to continue to go down this path with how you're doing here tonight, and let it grow, and invite other people to come. And I know that on a Tuesday night at 6 o'clock is not the ideal time to be coming together, but anyway, it's what we have, okay? And so let's just make the most of it. So, you know, my plea to you tonight is to just continue to support your communities. So, I'll give you an example. Last week we passed a bill in the General Assembly. It went through the Senate, it hadn't been through the House yet, that I was adamantly opposed to because it puts shrimpers in North Carolina, our people that go on their boats and catch shrimp to sell, they're going to make them stop trawling in the Pamlico Sound, which is it's a critical mistake, I think, that we're making, because you don't ever hinder a food source, and they are a food source for the state of North Carolina. Do you know where most of our seafood comes from now? Doesn't come out of the waters in North Carolina. Almost 90% of it is from nations overseas, and you don't even want to know what, and out of that, over half of it is raised in ponds, okay? And you don't even want to know what they feed those shrimp and crabs in those ponds, okay? It's really not very healthy for any of us. And yet we're going to try to pass a law that puts our shrimpers out of business. That makes no sense to me. Hardworking people go out every day and risk their lives, because the two people that are most dependent on God for a harvest is fishermen and farmers, because they don't get to control the weather. And so, but the fishermen rose up today, and there was probably 450 of them that came to rob. And they didn't march and protest and make loud noises and destroy stuff. They came and they stood out on the street, held signs that said, "Please protect our seafood industry." And that's how they did it. And then they came inside the building, and they went from office to office to office, and they talked to anybody that was there that would listen to them. And they did it in a peaceful mode. And I'm going to tell you what, they made a difference in Raleigh today. I don't think this bill is going anywhere, and I hope it doesn't, because I've voted against it 3 times now, and I'll continue to vote against it. And so, well, these people are, a lot of them are my constituents. I represent Warren County now, but for a time there, I represented 3 counties on the coast of North Carolina. Carteret County is my biggest county. It's renowned all over North Carolina for the fresh seafood and the seafood that comes off its shores. And so, you know, and I've got others too. So anyway, that's how you get things done. If you see something that the General Assembly is doing wrong, get a truckload, get a carload, come up there and talk to us. That's how you make changes. And when you come, know what the problem is, come with a solution. I love people that come into my office they tell me the problem for the first 15 minutes, but then they give me a solution for the next 15 minutes. This is the best way to take care of this. That's a win-win situation for all of us, because I don't have to try and figure out what's best for your community. You come and tell me what's best for your community. And then all I have to do is try to get it in motion and get it done for you. Okay, so I don't know. I know that, like I said, I'm at the end, and I know those seats are hard. They were hard last time I sat on, and they don't look like they've gotten any softer. Okay, so anyway, can I take a question or 2? Well, it's all right. I'll have a long day tomorrow and today, but we're getting ready to, because we can't come together on the budget, so to speak. we're getting ready to go home for about 3 weeks and let everybody go home and decide what it is they want for the state of North Carolina and how's the best way for us to get there. And then we'll come back in about 3 weeks and we'll try it again. Because there's only one thing that is required of us by our Constitution every year when we go into session. We have got to produce a budget. Now, it doesn't matter a lot about this year's budget because last year when we made this budget, we do 2 years worth of budget. And so if something happens that we don't pass this budget, we just bring the one that we did last year up and put it in place. But a lot of people are going to be disappointed because I've got a lot of requests right here in Warren County also to do some projects with your water and other stuff, your infrastructure. And we were hoping to get the state's help on some of that. If we don't get this budget passed, that's not going to happen because we don't get to spend any new money when we have to use last year's budget. It's only what's already been appropriated. And so I hate to see you guys suffer because we can't get $2 or $3 million to help you put in the systems that you need to do what you need done here in Warren County. And so I'm hoping that we can come to agreement on it. I really am. And this is inter-party. This is not party fighting. This is within our own party that we're having this disagreement. Okay? And so and my constituents don't understand. Aren't y'all all in the same party? And I say yes. And they say, well, why can't you solve this problem and get together? It's a lot more complicated than you think it is. But anyway, yes, ma'am. I'll answer a few questions.
Thank you. Good evening, sir. My name is Janet Rudisil. I'm a retired federal employee from what was the United States Agency for International Development. 37 years, U.S. diplomat.
Bless you.
My question, thank you. My question to you, sir, is in regard to social services programs. I'm a certified senior health insurance program counselor in the state of North Carolina, so I work with the Medicaid, Medicare programs and ensuring that the seniors within Warren County are receiving the services that they receive. I'm also an active volunteer at the Warren County Senior Center where we make sure the seniors in Warren County are receiving the services that are provided. My question to you though, sir, is as a part of your budget reconciliation, a lot of our funding come through services through Medicaid, Medicare, and CARTAR. We see the suffering of some of our seniors not having the adequate resources that they need. Within your budget reconciliation process, are there going to be cuts within the state funding for our social services programs, including housing vouchers for the lower income people, food stamps, health care services, all of those things? How is that being reconciled, given the fact that you all are considering a reduction in personal property taxes?
Well, the state of North Carolina doesn't charge property taxes. Okay, we make all our money.
I spoke wrong. Personal taxes,
Yeah.
income taxes.
Well, right now we're growing our way out of it. We have enough new business and new employees coming into this state that it makes up the difference in the cut that we make and what we would need. I mean, the state of North Carolina needs X number of dollars every year to provide the services that we have to provide. And so far, we've been blessed enough to even make more than what we've needed. And so we take that and we put it in a savings account. And our savings account right now is about $8 billion. What we've saved over what we don't. If we get revenue surplus, we passed a law that says 60% of it has to go into the savings account. We can't just spend it. We got to put it in savings because there'll come a time when services like you just said are not on a good footing, and we have to go into that account and get money to help. That and things like happened in Western North Carolina. We've spent about $3 billion of that on helping the people up there that had the floods. And we face the same thing here in the East because we're always subject to hurricanes ourselves. We've been through many hurricanes, and that's where the state gets the money to come in and help us put our lives back together and help us. But I have looked at all of the budget. I've gone over the budget, the one that we passed last year and the one that probably is going to end up this year. There are none of the cuts that is there. We don't just cut Medicaid or we don't have anything to do with Medicare. But we have a certain percentage of Medicaid that we have to provide, and the state share of Medicaid is about 10%. And I don't see any deduction in that 10%. And some of the other social services that we offer our our elderly citizens, I haven't seen anywhere where we're planning on cutting. Okay, so, yes ma'am. Would you take the mic? I'm sorry.
You said that the state of North Carolina adds 10% to the federal allocation. So my question is, if the federal allocation to the state of North Carolina is reduced, will the state cover the shortfall?
That's our intention at this point. We do have what we call Medicaid rebates, which means that's a minimum amount that we know that Medicaid has to have to function like it's functioning now. The only thing we're doing is trying to reduce the amount of people that are working age adults who should be working and don't have jobs, and they don't want jobs right now. And so that's where we're kind of trying to look at cutting. Our plan is not to cut Medicaid or any of the senior citizens. You know, Medicaid was first put together for the very young and the very old, those who can't look after themselves. But we filled in the middle now with a whole lot of folks that just don't want to work. And I don't think it's up to the taxpayers to provide them with insurance or with health care when they don't want to go to work. You know, I truly believe what the Bible says: if you don't work, you don't eat. Not literally not eat, because I know that that's not, but we need to train people and we need to get them so that they are able to get good jobs and that they can work, because there's something about working that makes a person complete. And so, but it's not our intent. I don't see anywhere where we're going to be trying to reduce the program that we have now for either one of those.
Good evening, Mr. Sanders.
Hey, sir.
My name is Al Cooper. We met back in the fall when you were here.
Yes,
I
sir.
don't know if you remember me, but
I
we
do.
talked a little bit while you were here. I am currently commissioner in Warren County, but before that I was a school board member for 16 years. And I'd just like to speak and ask you for a moment. You have said several times tonight that y'all have quite the piggy bank. You have money in savings, money saved up, and the amount is quite more than what I'm going to ask you for tonight.
Okay.
The Leandro case. The Leandro case. In 2021-22 budget, a comprehensive remedial plan was considered for $785 million that was owed to poor black, brown, poor white children in this state. Owed to us. The suit was filed in 1994. It is now over 31 years old. So I ask you tonight, in August of 2022, the North Carolina Supreme Court heard the case for the fourth time. On November 4th, 2022, the Supreme Court issued a ruling upholding our state constitution and the rights of our children, families, and communities. When are you going to pay?
I wish I could answer that question, sir. I don't have that kind of control in the General Assembly. I'm a committee chairman and an appropriations chairman, but I don't get to make those decisions. They're made at a lot higher level than I am. And I know that there's still stuff on that case that's never been settled. And so I really can't answer that question as to when. I wish I did. Huh? I don't know. After 30-some years, I have my doubts.
Hello, how are you, Senator?
Hello.
I am Mr. Lowe. I work in corrections in this area. And it's been 6 years that I've been doing this. It was a track change for me from corporate America to working for the state. And there used to be, before I started working for a state, something noble attached to that. It meant something when you had a state job. What I've found in the years that I've been working for the state and what our message that we've been hearing, and I don't know if this is something that you can answer or that you can carry the message back to those who can. We're being told about cuts. We're being told that we're being limited, that we can't work overtime. Overtime's not my favorite thing, but unfortunately for many of the people that I work with, that's how they're making ends meet. We've had in the last couple of years been given what they've called a retention bonus to keep people from leaving with the guaranteed they'd stay for a year. And I guess my question to that was, why wouldn't, when you look at the playing field. A bonus gets taxed at a much higher rate than regular pay. Why wouldn't the state, knowing that the cost of living has gone up exponentially in this state for everyone, for everything, your basic essentials, food, car, just to make your ends meet, give all sheriff's department, teachers, corrections officers, people who show up for jobs that they could get harmed or even killed in, not because we're special, but because that's our reality, and we do it day in and day out. But it doesn't seem like we get the full support of the state behind us. I realize that there are a lot of people who've worked for the state in the years. When I came in, right behind me, the benefits changed. And the corporate model is to reduce all of that. I assume that that's the model that the state is following, but is there any consideration to giving an across-the-board living wage increase to answer the call, to let the people who work for the state know that we matter, and that this, while you can't fix everyone's individual situation, we appreciate you, and here's something to help you make it.
Well, in the budget right now that's in negotiation, I think there's a 3.5% increase across the board for all state employees. I think it goes up to about 6% for teachers, because we're trying to get teachers to the average on the whole East Coast. Right now we have one of the lowest teacher starting pays in the country, and so we're trying to get that up to attract. Look, your department has the highest unemployment rate of any department in state government. The last time I heard, it was about 37% unemployed, people that we need to have in jobs that we don't have. And that creates situations where you do have to work overtime, and you know what happened in Pasquotank County, and that was finally brought back after all of everything was looked at and checked and all. It was the reason that those guards lost their lives was because they had worked too many hours, and they were not on the top of their game. And so we've determined that we can't do that. And so, because to lose a person in that situation is a terrible thing. And so we're still looking at that situation, and but all prison, I think, in fact, we've got a bill in now that we're working on that will give not only prison personnel, adult corrections personnel, significant raises, but even local police officer raises. And that's not something that the state, as far as I know, has ever done. We've never gone in and supplemented local police officers. But we know that their starting pay is so low that if we don't help them, we're going to end up with just not very good officers. I admire anybody, because there's a lot of people that can't work in that system. And one of the things that adult corrections had for a while was that you had to be fully certified and fully trained before they would let you even go in and put a uniform on. And people would walk in, and 2 days later they'd turn around and walk out because they just can't stand the confinement of being in that kind of situation. And so we did change that. They can start kind of like apprentices now before they get all the way through the training, because it costs a lot to train an officer like you to go into that situation. And so we're always constantly trying to improve it, and we've had some really good, in fact, we're getting ready to confirm a new director of prisons this week, a couple of days. It's a lady that comes highly recommended. I know we just lost a really good person who did a marvelous job in our adult corrections facilities, but he has moved on, and so we've got to put somebody else in position. And I don't know if you've met this lady or not, but she's top notch. She's sharp. And I hope that she can help us turn this thing around about recruitment, because we've been everywhere looking for recruits. We've gone to retired law enforcement officers, we've gone to retired military people to try to attract them. And it's just something about the nature of your job that people they say if they can find something else, that's what they want to do. So I admire you for being in that position.
Good evening, Senator. Good evening, Senator Sanderson. How are you doing?
Good, sir.
It's good. I'm glad you came out this evening. I got a 1 to 2, maybe 3-part question. First question would be, what is your plan to strengthen intergovernmental relationships between the state of North Carolina and tribal nations within your district? The second one would be, how do you plan to ensure tribal voices are included in state-level policy discussions, especially those affecting land, education, and cultural preservation? And the third one would be, what specific initiatives are you supporting or proposing to promote economic development in rural towns like Warrenton, Hollister, Macon, and those regions of our area?
Well, let me answer the last one first, okay? We're trying to help, and we intend to help, because if we don't get it done this year, we'll get it done next year. And that's to help Warrenton repair and upgrade its facilities, its basic things that are services that they provide for the citizens in this town. And I know Warrenton is pretty unique in what they have already, but they're getting to the end of their life, and they need the money to help replenish it. The other one is about, I'll tell you, about how you get a voice for, who did you say?
Tribal nations in your district.
Me. I'm your voice. I'm part, I don't know if I'm half Cherokee or half Lumbee Indian, but I'm one of them. My grandmother was full-blooded, and we're just trying to figure out, was she was either born as a Cherokee female and was raised by Lumbee Indians, or the other way around. And because there's no records to be found, we're just trying to in the dark. But I belong to that position.
I guess then, Mr. Sanderson, my next question would be is, when do you intend on sitting down with tribal council leadership in your district to have discussions about real problems and real situations that we, the tribe, as I'm a council member, are dealing with?
I want to come and sit before your council and have that conversation with them.
Okay, well, if you check your email, you will see that I've offered to facilitate said meeting about 2 months ago. So
okay, I will go
just
back
respond
and
to me and I can get that meeting set up for you. But that's why I came here today, to ask you why you haven't came and sat down and talked to my tribal leadership, of whom I'm a member of, in the situation and the fact that we have a long history in Eastern North Carolina.
I know you do.
Way before the 1700s in the Revolutionary War.
And I look forward to coming to talk to you.
Yeah,
okay?
I'll be looking forward to your response to my email.
Okay, will you send it again?
I can.
Okay, please do it. And I'll give you my private email so it doesn't get lost. You know, my problem is, I've got 8 counties. And so it's 3.5 hours from here to my home. And so I have a big district. I got the same amount of people that any other Senate district has, but mine's spread out over a much bigger area. And I'm not using that as an excuse.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been up here several times and partaken or entered into some of the things that happen right here in Warrenton, and I'll continue to do that as often as I can.
Okay.
But maybe I just need to bring all of y'all to Raleigh and camp out up there for a day or so.
Well, we've had those conversations with some of the NC Democratic leaders about scheduling a date to come to Raleigh.
Okay.
But I would like for you to come have a seat, and everybody, Rodney Pierce has been and talked with us several times.
Okay.
And I mean, it's not about party.
I know.
It's about work.
I know. And I will certainly, I promise you, I will get on your list and be here.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you heard me earlier talk about the Soul City Fire Department, but I did read something. It was a blurb about the state assisting Soul City with the fire engine. Are you familiar with that?
No, but it can be done.
Okay. Well, it's already on the table.
Okay.
And if you'll look at that and assist us in pushing that all the way through, that would be a great asset for Soul City, sir.
Do you know who requested that? Was it Representative Pierce?
I believe it was.
All right, I'll go talk with him, see where it is.
Yes, sir. Please do.
We'll see.
Because we're in dire need of an engine.
I know. All volunteer fire departments right now are really feeling the crunch. Their fundraising is down because all of us are under the rule of inflation, and it's costing us more just to live. And so that really restricts and cuts down on the amount of people that are willing to volunteer their services and also volunteer their finances. I went through, where was it last week? We drove through a community. It was in Cerro Gordo, which is in eastern North Carolina, way east next to South Carolina line. And the firemen were out in the middle of the road with their boots collecting money when the traffic came by. And so I said, wow, if all of us had the same drive that they have to see what they do succeed, we'd be a whole lot further along. But I'll talk with Representative Pierce tomorrow and see where that is. And if it's not in the budget, and we have a budget, we'll put it in there. Okay? Yeah. Well, see, the fund balance is kind of set up uniquely. You got to have a 65% vote to take any money out of it. Because if we didn't, we knew that somebody would come along and spend it all. And so you got to have 65% of the General Assembly vote to take it out. So it means it's going to be a bipartisan, and it's going to be a very important situation to take money out of our savings account. But that's what it's for.
Good deal. Thank you. We'd like to thank the representative for coming out and speaking with us. I can attest to the fact that if you can walk into the General Assembly, that's how we, the voices of Warren County, happen to get Mr. Sanders' ear. We go periodically. You can walk in, usually when they're in session, you just walk in and you find the person that you need to talk to. The doors are usually wide open. He's been very receptive to us walking in. And I know that sometimes we attempt to contact people, and I know sometimes stuff get lost. We don't have any control of that, so I feel you. But we're glad that everybody came out. I got one announcement to make. Someone asked me to make this announcement a few minutes ago, and it is about a league. It is a camp, and it is Leaders Empowering and Advancing Our Place. It is for rising 5th to 9th graders, 5th grade to 9th graders, and it takes place on the week of July the 7th through the 10th of 225. Then again on the second week is July the 14th through the 17th of 2025. And the time is from 8:30 until 2:30 p.m. And it is at Vance Bama Community College right here. And so if all hearts and minds are clear, we are going to adjourn this town hall meeting. Thank everybody for coming out and participating.